Today, I am beyond honored to welcome a man who has become a spiritual disruptor in the world of unhealthy relationships. He is a relationship expert, best-selling author, truth teller, and he is a voice of clarity in a culture of confusion. Through his best-selling books, viral videos, and deeply intuitive guidance, he doesn't just teach on how you date, he calls you into alignment with your divine assignment in love. He has helped millions, especially women, unlearn survival patterns, recognize emotional sabotage, and open their hearts to the kind of love that is not performance, but purposeful. His best-selling book, The Man God Has For You, has become a modern-day love manifesto. And if you've read it, you know this is not about fairy tales. It's about faith, discernment, accountability, and healing what is hidden. Today, we go deep into letting go of false connections and into the sacred becoming that happens before real love arrives. Welcome, Stephan Speaks, to the millions that know him. He has helped heal. I am so grateful to have you on. Stephan, welcome to Reinvention Real Talk.
Thank you for having me on. It's awesome.
Yes, I am absolutely feel very blessed and grateful to have you on. And let's get right into it because we have just a short time, but let me ask you and get right into it. Why do you believe love is not over, especially for those over 40 who feel their best romantic years are behind them?
Well, to be honest with you, I feel like so many people, when they encounter love the first time, they have not developed the skills or the maturity to handle it, which is understandable because we're not taught how to properly handle love. We're not being put through any kind of proper training or anything like that. And it can be very overwhelming, and we're told a lot of different fairy tales that can skew our perception of things.
Yeah.
And so I believe that it's actually later in life that many will develop the ability to nurture, embrace, and really see the full potential of love in their life. So absolutely, it's not over after 40, and there's so much life to live. And I just think that they're conditioned to thinking everything is downhill after 40 or as we get older. And it's like, no, things can get a lot better after 40 as long as you apply what you learn and not drag the old baggage into that next part of life.
Yes, yes. Well, like in your coaching, because you do coach, every age, but with Relationship Real Talk, we really focus on the second half of life. So, what are the most common emotional blind spots or wounds from keeping and finding that real connection? Because I do believe at this stage in life, you come with so much. I never like to say baggage. I always say luggage to make it a little bit softer. So in that luggage, what are the common emotional blind spots or wounds that just keep from that real connection that you can't find, where people say, I'm 40, I'm past 40, 50, 60, it's over for me. I'm destined to be alone.
It's the skepticism that we develop about love and relationships.
Yeah.
One of the big issues that society has is that they conflate love with relationship, and it's two different things. So you can love anyone that walks this earth, but you can't be in a relationship with everyone who's walked this earth.
Yeah.
And that's why you'll see this argument of people saying, well, love is not love is not unconditional. No, it can be. Relationships cannot be unconditional. Those will have these conditions. But the problem is, as we get older, we experience life, and we have some bad experiences, we conflate these things, and now we have this negative perception or this skepticism that blocks us from receiving it. So you have some people who are over 40 who can meet someone right now that they have this amazing connection with, but their past trauma, their unresolved negativity is not going to allow them to believe it for what it is. They will start to question it. They will start to nitpick. They will self-sabotage. And it's all because they haven't resolved those negative feelings and experiences that lead to that skepticism about love. I also think that another problem is and this applies, of course, to any age. I mean, all these things apply to any age, but I definitely think it can be even more so after 40 is not understanding our true value.
Mm-hmm.
So you have, and let's just start with women for a second. You have a lot of women who, let's say right now, a woman is 45 years old.
Mm-hmm.
She's has a career, she's successful on home, all these things. And because of all her hard work and energy that she's poured into herself and her career, she places her value in those things. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But those things is not what presents her value in a relationship with the type of man that she wants.
Mm-hmm.
And that disconnect or misunderstanding can start to throw things off in
Mm-hmm.
various ways. Or we can even flip it. We can have a woman who's 45, let's say she's never been to college,
Mm-hmm.
has a regular job, maybe she's still struggling, but because she thinks her value is in what she's supposed to quote unquote bring to the table financially and educationally and all these things, she meets this amazing man who has it all together and she thinks, why does he want me?
Mm-hmm.
I don't bring any value here, but it's like, no. And I come across this all the time where I have to explain to the woman, your value is in the energy that you bring to this relationship. Your
Yeah.
value is in the fact that he's attracted to you, that he feels safe around you, that he feels at peace around you.
Mm-hmm.
This is your value to that kind of a man. And
Yeah.
so I think, and even with men, you have men who they think their whole value is in their success,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Not understanding the emotional side that's necessary to really nurture that relationship and make it work.
Mm-hmm.
Or who are struggling with their own confidence due to maybe some limitations they have that they think is the end all be all, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, no, it doesn't stop there. So I really think people just having a misunderstanding of their true value and
Yeah.
what they can bring to a relationship that goes beyond kind of just what's on the surface,
Mm-hmm.
that's throwing a lot of things off for people.
Yeah. Do you think that has to do a lot with society and how society has changed and the, masculine, feminine roles have changed? Like you said, when women feel like they have to be in charge of their relationships or I'm not their relationship, their the financial aspect of it or their careers. Do you think it is like society has kind of skewed things and maybe even social media, all these things that really have kind of skewed things a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's a combination. It's a combination of upbringing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
you have some in regards to the women, you have some women who've been told their whole life they need to do for themselves. They don't ever depend on a man. All these things,
Yeah.
it's been ingrained in them to
Mm-hmm.
focus on career and success and to define themselves by those things. Then
Yeah.
you have society that magnified that. Social
Yeah.
media magnified it even more, right? And
Yes.
so, yeah, all of these different things have definitely contributed to the issue and made it more difficult for people to understand what their true value really is.
Yeah, yeah, it's difficult. It really is. Like you said, it could be one or the other, and it's just. I think also. So for you, I want to hear your opinion on this. Like, do you think people are more addicted to the pursuit of love than love itself?
That's a very good question. And I'm going to say yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because I always say people are saying with their mouth, I want love. But if
Yeah.
love was right in front of them, it would scare the crap out of them.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So that's why they're addicted to the pursuit because the pursuit never requires them to face the full vulnerability that
Yeah.
love requires if they actually get it. All right.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yes, I do think they feel safer
Uh
in the
huh.
pursuit rather than in the reality of it.
Yes.
But if
Yes.
they would
Absolutely.
heal, then I think that would fix that issue. Not I think I know that would fix that issue.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And do you think because of, let's talk about over 40, because this is what this podcast really kind of focuses on. Do you think also, let's go back to the luggage of, well, that's just the way I am because, I'm 60 years old and that is just the way I am, take it or leave it. And they don't want to do the work, So the distraction, and that is who I am distracts them from doing the deeper work of becoming. that better person.
Yeah, because listen, the whole "that is who I am" is a defense mechanism because we
Hmm.
don't want to have to face certain issues about ourselves and we don't want to have to
Yeah.
go through the process and the
Hmm.
work required.
Yeah.
Healing is a difficult thing for a lot of people. For
Yeah.
most people, it can be
Yeah.
very scary because it requires you to go back to very hurtful places that can be
Yes.
difficult to deal with. So it's easier just to brush it off as, dude, this is just me. This is just me. And it's like, no, it isn't you. It's a product of
Yeah.
things that have not been resolved and what you've been exposed to and how you think you need to navigate through life in
Hmm.
order to quote unquote protect you. But I always say the same walls you have up to protect you, the same walls blocking your blessings.
Oh, say it again.
The same walls you have up to protect you are the same walls blocking your blessings.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, amen on that. And I always say people don't want to go, and especially at this stage in the second half of life, they don't want to do the work. They say this, I hear it over and over, whether it's clients, whether it's friends, whether I hear it, on different when I listen to podcasts, and this is just who I am. And I always say, yeah, because that person doesn't want to go in and face, like you said, their hurt, their fears, all their, issues of what it is. I again use the words to try to make it nicer. I say, oh, you don't want to face your lions. You got to tame your lions, and it's difficult from someone like me that it took me. I mean, I'm still because I think we are and you're even a relationship expert, and no matter what, and I'm sure every day you still have to work to get a little bit better. We're humans, and I think until our last dying breath, we have to work on ourselves because we're never going to reach. To me, the only perfection is God. Is up here, who you believe in. If you believe in God, Bob, Judy, whoever, but Jesus, it's up here, and that's the only perfection. Is they don't want to do that, and it's really a sad situation because I think a lot of people miss out on a beautiful love they could have, starting with themselves, which is if you don't love yourself, you don't value yourself, you're never going to find someone that truly is in alignment with you.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And speaking of alignment, so you speak a lot about alignment, divine timing, emotional healing, readiness. But, in all honesty, how does someone know that they're truly ready to receive love, not just chase it? And it seems that after 40, desperation sets in and motivates so many people.
I think the two things that tell you if you're ready for love is one, you are fully prepared to be vulnerable,
Mm,
completely vulnerable. Like if you
yeah.
still fear vulnerability, you're not ready because even if you got into a relationship with this person, that
Hmm.
resistance to vulnerability is going to start to cause problems, plain and
Yeah.
simple. So you
Yeah.
got to be prepared to be vulnerable. And the second thing is you got to be humble enough to know that there's always things to work on.
Yeah.
All right. If you
Yeah.
go into a relationship with that mentality, then
Hmm.
everything can be worked through. Everything can be overcome because we don't have that pride of, well, there's nothing wrong with me. I don't need to change anything. I don't need to fix anything. No, there's always things you need to improve. And it's not even about improving in a general sense, but it may
Hmm.
just be improving for the sake of the person that you are now in the relationship with. So how they want to be spoken to, how they want to be handled, how they want to be loved on. You
Yeah.
may have to work on certain things that for someone else was not really an issue. So as
Yeah.
long as you are open to that, then I say you're ready. But if not, then you're not ready to move forward yet.
You're not ready. And I love how you said how they want to be loved. A lot of people confuse how, you know, you want to be loved yourself and try to project that onto that partner.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
But I
yes.
do think also, and this is why it's important to have these discussions early on in the relationship or in the dating phase.
Hmm.
Some people's requirement of love
Hmm.
may not fit who you are.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so rather than trying to force the issue and become
Hmm.
something you're not, that's where you have to accept, okay, we're just not the right fit. This isn't going to work. Doesn't mean they're a bad person. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. It's just we're not a good fit for each other. And you move
Absolutely.
on until you get with someone or meet someone that you can be in alignment with, that you can embrace their needs and they want to receive love.
Absolutely. And that's huge. That's huge. The alignment is huge. I think a lot of us look over that, and especially over 40, like we talked about, there is that desperation. It's
Yeah.
like, I'm going to take this person because I'm not going to have someone else. And yes, there is. God has that person for you. You know, there
Mm.
is that divine person for you. So, do you believe some people confuse divine alignment with personal desire, and they end up maybe assigning God's name to a trauma-based connection?
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It happens all the time. Um, there's so many ways so many different directions I could go with this, but I'm gonna say this. Like, I've seen so many people where they pray and they
Yeah.
may ask God, okay, show me a sign this is the right person for me. And I always tell people you have to be careful with signs because you're still leaving it up to yourself to interpret the sign, and you
Yes.
could misinterpret it, or
Mm-hmm.
it may not have even been a sign from God. It was just a random occurrence that you took as a
Yes.
sign. So
Yeah.
no matter what, you're still gonna have to go back to God. And to
Yeah.
me, I believe you have to learn how to hear God within prayer
Mm-hmm.
and go with that answer. Anything outside of that is really risky. But
Mm-hmm.
I've seen people take that approach,
Mm-hmm.
assume something was a sign,
Yeah.
and get with someone and thinking, well, this is what God wanted me to do. And it's like, no, God never told you that. You
Yeah.
assume that, right?
Yeah.
And in the process, overlook red flags, overlook glaring issues because
Yeah.
they convince themselves that, no, God gave me a sign. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. So
Yeah.
I think people have to be very, very careful with that.
Yeah.
Um, and again, I think it's just really getting comfortable. In my opinion, is getting comfortable with learning how to hear God in prayer to help
Mm-hmm.
eliminate, at least diminish, what I believe are the mistakes people make when it comes to assuming a relationship is divine connection.
Yes, yes. And I mean, this is why you're one of my, top relationship experts, because
Right.
you incorporate God into everything that you speak, you know? And I think even if someone's not super religious, but they can be spiritual or believe in a higher being, it is so important the message that you do carry, because there is that message for God from God, and you have to really kind of have to learn how to decipher it. And
Yeah.
I think even if you don't want to use the word God, I'll use the word intuition, and that is God inside you
Mm.
speaking to you. And it's a matter of how you got to listen to that voice inside you, because that voice inside you is God. So,
Right.
so I have a big one for the ladies, okay? All right,
Okay.
especially my ladies over 40. This was one question that I got asked a lot of different ways to ask you. So I'm going to ask you how I'm going to ask you, all right? What do you say to the woman who says, Stefan, I've waited, I've prayed, I've worked on myself. Where is he? Because I'm going to be honest, for myself personally, I am exhausted from God sending me potential projects. And every time I see it, I'm like, nah, God, I'm all right. I'm all good. Thank you. I'm going to pass on this one. So, how do we know if we're waiting on God, or is God waiting on us?
Okay, that's a very good way to put it. One, this goes back to learning how to be comfortable hearing God in prayer, because
Mm-hmm.
I would first say for those who do believe in praying and speaking to God, to ask that question like, okay, God, is there something I'm missing? Is there something I'm overlooking that I still need to do?
Yeah.
Sometimes the step that needs to be taken isn't necessarily about us, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak. Or let me put it like this. Like, I think when people think working on me, they're thinking, okay, how can I be a better person? How can
Mm-hmm.
I do this better? All these things. But I remember meeting a woman one time, and she had a male friend. They had a great relationship. They had feelings for each other, but he said he wasn't ready. She was frustrated by this.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't understand, why would God make her wait when it's like right there. And I
Yeah.
said to her, I said, well, maybe there's something God's been wanting you to do that you
Ooh.
haven't done yet. And he knows if you get this man right now, you'll never do it. So let
Yeah.
me ask you, is there anything God has been telling you to do that you have yet to execute?
Mm-hmm.
And she took a second. She said, there is. And
Oh,
God told her to write a book. And she
wow.
had not started writing the book. And I said, well, let me tell you something. If you get with that man now, that book never gets written.
Mm.
Because people don't want to acknowledge the fact that when we get in relationships, our attention will shift, our
Yes.
energy will shift, or at least it will become more divided. So there's a natural drop off that will occur in
Yeah.
our careers and other aspects of our lives once
Mm-hmm.
we get with someone that we're truly into. All right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it could be as simple as that. But also, going back to working on us,
Mm-hmm.
I've met women who said that same exact speech, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've done everything, I've been waiting, I'm tired. But then when I sit down with them, maybe in a coaching session,
Yeah.
I'm able to find what's still blocking it. It could be like, all right, you still want this masculine man who has his stuff together, but you're not exuding your feminine energy.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not tapping into that. And look at it beyond just the idea of feminine energy.
Mm-hmm.
If that energy is within you and you have not tapped into it, that means there is a blockage there.
Yeah.
Whatever that blockage is, trauma, something, a negative perception of feminine energy,
Mm-hmm.
that has to be resolved because that will become an issue in your relationship. And you'll have some women say to me, but Stefan, I know how to be feminine. I can be feminine in my relationship, right? And I'm like, okay, that's great. The
Yeah.
problem is if you're not exuding it, why
Yes.
would the kind of man who can honor it be drawn to you?
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna repel him. But you know who will be drawn to you? Men who want to sleep with you, men who want to waste your time, men who
Mm-hmm.
want to use your resources. They'll
Yeah.
come. They don't care. But the
Yes.
guy who you can have a serious relationship with, he
Mm-hmm.
will need to see that for him
Mm-hmm.
in most cases. Or there's also this misunderstanding of, well, if he's stepping up as a man, then my feminine will come out. And it's like, let me explain something to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There is a level of truth to that, but
Yeah.
here's the problem.
Yeah.
Yes, a masculine man draws the feminine energy out of a woman.
Mm-hmm.
But if you still have something unresolved that was blocking you from exuding it to begin with, there
Mm-hmm.
will come a moment where you are triggered and that masculine energy will come flooding out. All right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
at this point in the relationship, it will be hard to just bottle it back up and be good. It will now become your validation for why you
Mm-hmm.
have to remain in your masculine because you don't feel safe anymore because of maybe a misunderstanding, a mistake, which is gonna happen in any relationship. I don't care
Yeah.
how much a man loves you, I don't care how amazing he is. If you stay with him long enough, he's gonna piss you off one day, at the very least, okay? And if you don't understand how to not be reactive, how
Yeah.
to not let that masculine energy come out, because that masculine energy is a defense mechanism for so
Mm-hmm.
many women.
Yeah.
And that will be enough to derail the whole situation. So
Absolutely.
again, we have to, this is what's also coming to me in this moment on my spirit. We have to understand that if we want what God has for us,
Mm-hmm.
there is a higher standard we have to meet.
Mm-hmm.
If you want what you want, go ahead and do your thing. There's a much lower standard. That's why when we look around us and we say, well, there's all these different people in relationships. If those people are not letting God lead them, of
Mm-hmm.
course they're in a relationship. They don't have the same standard. They will overlook a lot of things, but they're
Mm-hmm.
gonna pay a huge price for
Yes.
not meeting those standards.
Yeah.
God wants to give you the best chance of success, so that does mean a lot more work in advance than the average
Yes.
person may have to deal with.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of women, and I've tried to explain this, to women that I've coached, is feminine does not mean the pretty dress. Feminine does not mean because you're putting on the heels and you put the pretty lipstick and your hair is done. That's got to come from within, that
Right.
energy and where that aura that comes out of you and how you handle things. Absolutely. So I think that's something, I mean, ladies, you're listening to this. I mean, it's coming right from a man's mouth. Who's a relationship expert. So definitely listen to that. Now, you often say that a man God has for you will bring you peace. But what if that woman's nervous system has only ever known chaos? How can someone learn to trust calm, healthy love when it feels boring or even unsafe?
So here's the difference that a woman has to start to recognize or be aware of.
Mm-hmm.
If let's say you meet a man and
Mm-hmm.
when you're with him, you feel at peace, you feel comfortable, you feel at ease.
Mm-hmm.
But as you said, if all she knows is chaos, chaos will arise within her. But there's a difference between what's arising within her versus what he's bringing to her. All right.
Okay.
She has to be able to recognize in this moment, am I experiencing this chaos, this resistance, this frustration, whatever, this toxic energy because of him or because of
Mm,
my reaction to him, because of how I'm perceiving things with him, because of what's going on within me? You got to separate those two things. So, like, it reminds me, even from a spiritual perspective, where I've come across many situations where, let's say, a woman meets a man. Let's say she has two men in her life right now,
okay.
both trying to pursue her,
Hmm.
right? And the second man that she met is like, she feels this intense connection. And there's a great quote I used to give where it says, when God brings you the original, the devil will bring you the imposter. Right? So in
Wow.
those
Okay.
cases where women find themselves confused between these two guys
Hmm.
because of the timing of things and how things went, or maybe she was already in a relationship, and but the relationship that she's not really happy in, is she doesn't belong in, and here's this other guy that comes along that is so amazing and she has this connection with, and because of this confusion, she may believe, or someone will tell her, well, God's not an author of confusion, so you don't need to be with this new guy since you're
Hmm.
confused.
Yeah.
But he's not confusing you, you're confusing you. The
Yes.
confusion is within you. It is not what he is providing. There's a difference between a man who is double talking, giving mixed signals, giving you a runaround. That's him bringing you confusion. But
Yeah.
you being conflicted because there
Hmm.
are things within you that's not resolved, that is within you. Don't put that onto him. So this is why it's so important to heal, and this is why it's so important to not wait until you meet someone to then try to heal, because your lack of healing can be the exact reason why you're not able to get with this person. So you
Yeah.
want to take the time now while you're if you're already in a relationship, cool, you still got to do it. If you're single, this is the best time to
Yeah.
get rid of all that luggage, as you said, right? And resolve that once and for all, so that when that opportunity comes, you'll truly be ready for it.
Absolutely. And you brought up this point. Now, this is such a huge topic that I get so much pushback from, whether it's friends, people I've coached, when I've been on panels. You just said a woman, if she's dating two different men, do you believe that you should be, like, let's say, not relationship, not intimacy, but people should be dating a few or several, like, I don't want to use the word rotation or roster, but basically, that's kind of what it is. And and how do they even know? Because some will tell me, no, I'm only going to date one at a time. And I'm like, and that's why you're stuck in 1 to 3 month situationships, and you got those rose colored glasses on. No one's saying be intimate with them. Dating is a process of where you get to know people. You're getting to know that person to see if that person is aligned with you. So you, as a dating expert, do you believe in dating multiple people, and for how long should that happen?
I think so. Let me start by saying, if you are single, you are free to date as many people as you want at the same time. You're free.
Okay.
You don't need to. You don't only want any explanation on that.
So
But
what
I
is
think that, huh?
I'm sorry to cut you off. What does single mean to you?
Single means you are not in any official committed
Okay.
relationship.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. All right.
So as long as you're not in a committed relationship, you are
Yes.
free to see whoever you want to see.
Okay.
But the overall idea of should you date multiple people, I think it depends on the individual. I
Hmm.
think people have to be honest with themselves. I think some people are very capable of
Hmm.
multitasking, dating various people, and it won't diminish their ability to properly evaluate the individuals and
Hmm.
make a good decision.
Hmm.
Whereas other people, they can't handle it. It's
Yeah.
too much for them. Or, you know how you just said, some people get stuck these 1 3 month situationships dating one person at a time. But then you have some women who get stuck, or
Hmm.
even men, because even though they're dating, let's say, 5 people,
Hmm.
and none of these 5 guys are they truly into,
Yeah.
all 5 bring something different, and they
Hmm.
like all these. So it's basically all these 5 men make one this Superman.
Yeah.
It's like
Oh, I've heard that
Superman.
so many times, stuff.
Okay, and they get stuck and they hold on to their rotation, to their roster
Yeah.
because of that. So I
Yeah.
think the key is everyone has to learn to not let people linger on longer than they need to. Once you
Mm.
determine this is not for you, let it go. Or at the very least, if you don't, because let's be real, some people are going to want to hold on to individuals casually for different reasons. That's their decision. But there should be a clear communication on what that is so that we
Mhm.
avoid any messiness, we avoid any issues. Okay?
Yeah.
And you have to be mindful of, is the person you're communicating this to capable of handling that? Because
Mm.
you could have a situation where you tell these guys, some of these guys, "Oh, well, you know what? I realize we're not really a good fit for each other, but I wouldn't mind still hanging out here and there."
Mhm.
And he's thinking, I'm going to hold on, hoping I can work my way in. And the
Yeah.
reason why this is important to recognize is because if God forbid you hold on to a few guys who say they can handle it, who couldn't,
Yeah.
or even one of those guys, and
Yeah.
then you meet a man who is, this is the one,
Mhm.
that one guy who was hoping to get his shot may become a nuisance and try to ruin your situation. All right.
Yeah.
And wreak havoc. So you got to be very careful with
Mhm.
who you allow to linger in your life. But ultimately, we got to just make that determination as fast as possible so that we don't end up in these long situationships and dead end relationships when you know what you desire is marriage or something serious in your life.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when do you think something like that for the listeners that are hearing this, like when do you think yes, they have to say, okay, they have to evaluate and say, is this person for me? Like, when do you say, like, bring up, should the woman bring up the, let me ask you this way, should the woman bring up the conversation of what is this, or do you believe in marriage, or do you wait for that man to bring it up, or is it date number 3, date number 2, date number 4? How does that, what do you, as a man, what do you see in that, and as a relationship expert?
The minute it is a concern for that woman or a
Mm-hmm.
thought or a question that she needs answered, she
Okay.
needs to bring it up. She
So
should
you,
not wait.
so it's fine. She should bring it up.
Yes, because the thing is this, at the end of the day, no man who is serious about that woman
Mm-hmm.
is scared off because she asked him,
Mm-hmm.
what is this? Where are we going with this? It
Absolutely.
only bothers the guy who is hoping to keep things casual and
Yeah.
fluid and doesn't want to be held to any standard.
Yeah.
So there should be no fear of running him away. If it runs him away, it weeded him out. That's a good thing. And the
Yeah.
problem is if it becomes a concern to you and you
Mhm.
don't bring it up. So here's a phenomenon that I don't think women realize that
Okay.
happens so much.
Tell us.
Dating a man,
Uh-huh.
she's concerned with something like, where do we stand?
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't bring it up. The
Mm.
problem is, as a woman, you guys feel very deeply and you're in your heads all the time. Okay?
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
this question and this concern lingers.
Mm-hmm.
Even if she doesn't bring it up, it will start to throw off her energy. It may
Mm-hmm.
start to create attitudes in little moments, irritation, because she's bothered by the fact that she doesn't know where this is going and where she truly stands with this man.
Yeah.
And now it could be that shift of energy and that attitude that actually makes him lose interest in you. It
Yes. And
actually
women
makes him
are
say,
so
you know
good.
what? Things aren't smooth anymore. I don't like this way this is going. But the whole time, it was because of an unresolved question that, if answered, could have put this whole thing to rest.
Absolutely. And women are good at that. We keep that inside and then we'll jab a little bit. Brings it
Exactly.
down.
Exactly. So it's like, don't do that to yourself. If it's a concern, ask, bring it up. No, again, no man who's serious is going to be bothered by that.
I love that. I love that. All right, so let's talk about because right now you have a book that right now is, I mean, it is everywhere. If you are on Instagram, on the social medias, and women talking about it, it's called The Man God Has for You. All right, so let's get into that book. And you talk about 7 traits of a God ordained man. What is the trait women tend to overlook or undervalue in most men?
I don't know if this is the one they overlook or undervalue the most, but it's what I feel the most compelled to say at this moment.
Okay.
And that is the issue of attraction.
Yeah.
And I think this is even more true for
Mhm.
over 40.
Yeah.
Okay? I think that now, don't get me wrong. I do believe that women's what creates attraction for a women for the average woman goes beyond the physical presentation of the man. Okay,
Yes.
so his success, his ambition,
Hmm.
the way he overall carries himself, his masculine energy, all these things, him even being funny, very intelligent, all these things can cause a woman to be more attracted to him.
Hmm.
But what I do see happen to a lot of women for various reasons
Hmm.
is trying to look past a lack of attraction to their man.
Hmm.
Um, Either because they just feel they've been told it shouldn't be important, or
Hmm.
maybe they feel like, okay, listen, I'm getting older and I'm losing options, or they even feel like it's safer. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of women today who on the internet will say they want a medium ugly guy, right?
Oh
and,
gosh.
and my thing is, if you genuinely are attracted to a guy who happens to be quote unquote medium ugly, cool.
Hmm.
But a lot of women are choosing medium ugly because they think it's safer with
Yeah.
him. They
Yeah.
think, well, he gets less attention. He will value me more. There's going to be more loyalty. He'll be more grateful to be with someone like me.
Hmm.
And a lot of times, those medium ugly guys still end up doing them wrong. All
Hmm.
right.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if she's not truly into him, if
Yeah.
she's not truly attracted to him, she's
Hmm.
not going to be able to pour into him in the ways that will strengthen and nurture that relationship. So think about the fact that one of the biggest issues in marriage is
Hmm.
lack of sex. And
Yeah.
what a lot of people don't realize, because it doesn't get discussed enough, is
Hmm.
that two of the big reasons why sex drops off after marriage,
Hmm.
one, the woman was never that attracted to the man to begin with. Right?
Mm.
He may have been a nice guy, a provider, maybe great to talk to, maybe very emotionally safe, but she was not drawn to him
Yeah.
physically.
Safe
Then
choice.
you also add, in a lot of situations, the sex wasn't that good.
Hmm. Yeah.
She never speaks on it because she
Yeah.
feels like, well, this is a nice guy. I don't want to pass this up for those reasons. Sex isn't that important, blah, blah, blah. But the
Yeah.
problem is, if it stops you from being
Hmm.
able to show up in the ways that you need to show up,
Hmm.
it's going to be the same. It's going to be the downfall of that relationship, or at least contribute to it. So to
Absolutely.
me, I do think attraction gets overlooked too much. And I think also because the whole idea of, well, oh, looks fade.
Hmm.
I always make this joke. Yes, looks fade.
Hmm.
Health fades too, but you don't go to the ER looking for your next date. Okay, so don't. That's not an excuse to
Yeah.
ignore it in
Yeah.
the moment, right?
Hmm.
And again, I stress the word attraction. It's not
Yeah.
about how he looks specifically.
Hmm.
I just want women to make sure you are embracing a man you are genuinely attracted to and attracted to enough that
Hmm.
you will be able to pour into him in the ways that he will need from you.
Mm. I love that. I absolutely love that. Yeah, because exactly what you said. I mean, there are so many women, that exactly like, all right, well, like you say, he's medium ugly, but you know what? It's going to be the best. And it is. Those are the ones that do you the worst. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, there has to be that attraction for sure, for sure. Now, do you believe there are multiple the ones? Like, what if the love of someone's life came earlier in their journey and their unhealed version sabotaged them?
I do think, so I view it in under the lens of connection, right?
Okay.
And I do think, based off my research, it is possible to experience connection
Hmm.
more than once in a lifetime. I have never heard someone say three times. Okay.
Mm, yeah.
So two, I feel like I'm being very gracious, and I think two also covers that sometimes the love of your life passes away, things of
Hmm.
that nature, or like you said, some people weren't ready when they were young, and even
Yeah.
though two people may have a connection, people have to make decisions to end up together, and sometimes people decide to go get with someone else who they don't really belong with, but for various reasons have gone on that path. And
Yeah.
so to me, I don't think that means, well, you're screwed for the rest of your life because they chose different for various reasons. So I
Hmm.
do think it can come around more than once. But again, I would be lying if I said I ever heard or seen a
Hmm.
third situation happen for people.
Absolutely. So maybe too, because or do you truly or can we truly miss what was destined from God from us for us?
Well, so yes,
Mm.
because I
Wow.
do.
Okay.
Because again, So a perfect example to me that comes to mind, and maybe this isn't the greatest example, but I'm gonna use it.
Mm,
Someone could argue that it was destined for Moses to go into the promised land, but
mm,
because he was disobedient, he wasn't let in.
yeah.
Now, he still went to heaven. He's still a man after God's own heart. He's still a wonderful, amazing man, but he
Yeah.
missed out on that blessing because he was disobedient. So, and now granted, people could argue, well, that was under old law, and now we live under grace, and it's a very different dynamic. But I
Okay.
do think that at the end of the day, people have to make decisions. And
Okay.
if you choose to make decisions that are outside of what God wants you to do, then
Hmm.
yeah, you cannot get what God had for you. So to me, it's not about what you're destined to receive. I view it as like God has all these doors for us, and
Okay.
there's blessings behind them. But we still have to go and open those doors. We still have to go to it. It's not about it coming to us, it's how do we get to it. And that
Hmm.
requires us going through a process and letting God guide us and having faith and also trusting timing. And
Yeah.
I also want to mention when it comes to the timing,
Hmm.
especially with the whole idea of being over 40, this may sound bad, but I'm just gonna say
Say
it.
it.
When you consider the fact that the average marriage, I think
Mm.
now only lasts 8 years, right?
Oof.
And
Wow.
let's just say we're gonna be generous, and let's say
Hmm.
15 years,
Hmm.
okay?
Yeah.
So that means most people who meet someone to marry at 25, 30, they're back out in the market by 45, 50.
Yeah.
Okay?
Hmm.
But you get to meet someone while you're in your 40s or 50s, there's a very good chance you're going to get to ride out the rest of your life with this person. I
Yeah.
think we view the timing of things very differently than what God views it as. And
Hmm.
we don't realize that sometimes it might actually be an amazing blessing to
Yeah.
not have met that person until later in our lives, where we can establish some things, develop ourselves, get to know who we truly are, be
Hmm.
in better alignment with God, and then we won't have to worry about this again.
Mm.
Whereas a lot of people who got
Wow.
it sooner,
Yeah.
they're back in the process. So
Yeah.
while people are like, well, my friend, my family, okay, but if they're gonna be back out here doing it again, is that really what you wanted?
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
don't be
Absolutely.
envious. You never know.
Yeah, yeah, and it's true. A lot of people in their get married in their 20s, exactly what you just said, because my friends are doing it, because my family's forcing me, and they're not ready, and that's why it does end up in where you are divorced, like you said, being generous 15 years, and that's the
Even if you gave
generous
them
side.
25, it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
still,
yes, yeah, yeah. It is. It is.
so it's
Yeah.
like, listen, you
Wow,
don't
that's
have to
deep.
be in a rush.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So let's get like into modern love. So, and real discernment. So a lot of people over 40, okay, are either they're over the dating apps, they're burned out by modern dating altogether. Like, what does dating with spiritual, emotional discernment look like in today's world? Because so much has really just skewed it.
Well, first, let me say, when it comes to the dating apps, I
Hmm.
really feel like people are going about dating apps the wrong way.
Okay.
Okay? And respectfully to the women, and this is to men too, but we're gonna
Okay.
say to the women for right now.
Yeah.
Like, I've gone on some dating apps to do research,
Hmm.
and the profiles are horrible.
Hmm.
I'm like, I can tell that a lot of profiles are set up by women asking their female friends
Yeah.
what I should say, what picture to use. And I'm like, yo, why don't you ask a man? Because this
Yeah.
is not
Yeah.
proper marketing for what is going to draw not just men, but the kind of man you want to you. And I
Yes.
just feel like people need to take, if they're gonna do the dating app, take
Hmm.
it more seriously and
Hmm.
really put effort into trying to optimize things. I had a client one time, she got on a dating app, I think for the first month on there, she was
Hmm.
basically getting no responses. Okay?
Wow. Hmm.
I told her like a bunch of stuff to change. Literally, I'm not making this up. In the next day, she had 10 messages.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Okay?
That's huge.
Like,
Yeah.
it was that fast. I had another client, she didn't want to do dating apps, and this was a few years ago.
Hmm.
Got her to go on there. She got a flood of responses. It overwhelmed her. She jumped off. I said, no, just get back on there. Trust me. She
Yeah.
gets back on. She ends up meeting a guy, married, has a kid. And she was over 40 when this happened.
Wow.
So
Wow.
to me, I just feel like we got to go about it the right way. I do think there needs to be a revamping of some of these dating apps as well. I
Yeah.
think the whole swipe feature is unhealthy at
Ah,
this point.
woof. Yeah.
And I think it needs to go back to the old days of like there's just profiles on there that you can just see all these different and reach out to people. Because I think we don't realize how a lot of not even just relationships. This just dawned on me. You know, in marketing, they say the customer has to see things. I think the average is 3 to 7 times before they buy it.
Or they buy it. Yeah.
Okay, most people just don't see and buy. So it's
Yes.
the same thing on a dating app. Most people, the first time they see someone, they might be like, "Oh no," like because we're quick to look for things to disqualify somebody online.
Yes.
But when you see it over and over again, because
Yeah.
maybe you're scanning through profiles, it might be on the third time you're like, you know what? They don't look that bad. Let me reach out. I think there's a greater chance of connections to happen or matches to happen if it's set up in a way that people can repeatedly see the same profiles, whoever is on there,
Yeah.
versus just swiping and it's these quick reaction type situations.
Oof.
Now,
Yes.
to go back to your original question on basically navigating all this from a spiritual perspective, I think again it starts with getting comfortable with talking to God in prayer and hearing God in prayer,
Yeah.
and excuse me, letting God tell you if you should be on a dating app, right? Because the thing is, I'm all for dating apps, but does that mean everyone right now needs to be on one? No, some people may need to be in a coach's office at the moment or
Yeah.
therapist's office first before they jump on the dating app. Some people
Yeah.
may have some other things they need to do, right? Or some people just need to go outside
Yeah.
and get out more often. So to me, it just depends on the individual. But I think it's easier to navigate that when you allow God to tell you. And I think that people have this bad I'm gonna call it an unhealthy perception that you can't talk to God about the little things. Okay? And I think that we don't realize that God works in details.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, listen, I've had situations where I came across a woman, and let's say I was like, you know what, this isn't gonna go anywhere, but we're supposed to go on a date. And I would pray, like, okay, God, should I go on a date?
Yeah.
And God would tell me yes. And I'm thinking, like, why would God say yes when I already feel like this isn't gonna go anywhere?
Wow.
But then I would go, and in that process, a series of things would happen. I would end up like I remember one time. I don't think it was on the date situation, but there was another situation, like even going to the gym.
Yeah.
I'll pray about that. Go to the gym when I don't feel like it because God told me to go. End up running into someone who recognizes me, needs my advice so badly, and it changes their life. Like so,
Yeah.
it's like you don't know what things or events are going to happen that could create other events going down the road. So it's like, don't
Yeah.
be afraid to pray about the little small things. And
Yeah.
God tell you how to navigate. And I think if more people did that, they would find more success.
Absolutely, absolutely. I so agree with you on that. And yeah, they think that they need to either like, I think a lot of people don't know actually how to talk to God. I think they just, in a desperation, God help me to, you have to be
Yeah.
able to talk to him, have that open communication, even if it is with the small things. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely hitting the nail on the head there. Now, can you speak about the difference between chemistry and divine compatibility?
Okay. So chemistry, chemistry is something that's very fluid. Okay. And it is something that is a much more common occurrence depending on how many people you meet in your life. It may feel like you never have much chemistry with people, but how many people have you actually sat down and talked to? Not to mention that some people are just very likable people. So
Yeah.
they may have chemistry with damn near anyone that they talk to
Yeah, yeah,
because they
absolutely.
know how to get along and carry conversations and have fun and
Yeah,
all these different things.
yeah.
So I always tell people, listen, chemistry can be created and it can be destroyed. I
Mm-hmm.
always use the example of like sports teams or even at work. You can
Mm-hmm.
have team building exercises. You can build chemistry amongst a group of people.
Mm-hmm.
But just as you can build it, you can destroy it.
Yeah.
because somebody does something wrong and it can send everything left.
Mm-hmm.
But divine, you said compatibility, but I'm going to use connection.
Okay.
Connection cannot be created nor destroyed. It's either
Mm,
there or it's not.
love
And
it.
the reason why is because connection is spirit.
Yeah.
All right. And it
Yeah.
is your spirit recognizing its counterpart.
Mm-hmm.
It already knows that y'all two can align. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing changes that. The only thing now, the problem is whether we as individuals, as human beings, accept what the spirit already knows. All right.
Mm-hmm.
We know how to embrace and nurture it. But you could have, if two people have a connection, they can
Mm-hmm.
stop talking today. 10
Mm-hmm.
years can pass, 15 years can pass. They
Mm-hmm.
run back into each other. It's like this.
Absolutely.
It's not even I have to get used to them and get, no,
Yeah.
it's just, it snaps right back into place because it
Yes.
was always there. All right.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
also, chemistry sometimes can be a function of how we are willing to perform and show up with each other. All right. So
Okay.
again, if I'm on a basketball team and
Mm-hmm.
I love to score,
Mm-hmm.
but this team needs me just to rebound and pass, and
Mm-hmm.
I choose to show up in that way, I can have chemistry with them.
Yeah.
But that may not be who I truly am
Yeah.
as a player.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And can I be happy over the long run accepting a role that doesn't sit well with who I was created to be?
Mm-hmm.
In connection, I can be me. And it is an exact alignment with this person. I don't have to perform. I don't have to act a certain way. I can just be who I was wired and created to be. And we fit well together. And we love each other at our core. There's a lot of people right now who their ability to be in their relationship is
Yeah.
because they have enough distractions in their life.
Oh, wow.
Work,
Wow.
kids, friends, family, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you left them alone with their partner in a room with nothing to entertain them, or I always say a road trip, let them take a long, at least 6 hour road trip together. They may
Yeah.
not make it.
Yeah.
Many will not make it because they
Yeah.
don't truly like each other at the core. They don't
Mm-hmm.
truly fit together. They're just tolerating each other, and it's easier to do that because they have enough distractions. But when
Yeah.
there's divine connection, you don't need a distraction. You
Yeah.
guys can be in that road trip for 10, 12 hours and you're good. You can be
Good.
alone in a room, nothing else going on. You're good because you
Yeah.
two are truly in alignment with each other.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's true. There's people who think like if you're not talking, there's no, there's not that connection there. Absolutely there is, like you said. So yeah, oh my gosh. All right. So you have said, that you attract what you're ready for. So but I'm going to flip it on you. What might someone not be attracting because of what they're still holding on to emotionally?
So I actually believe no matter what you're ready for or not, it is possible to attract good and bad. The problem is what you will entertain. So you will not
Wow.
so you will entertain where you are emotionally, or you can't entertain what you're not ready for. So you can meet that amazing man or amazing woman, and if you're not truly ready for it, you're not going to be able to handle it.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and instead you will entertain the toxic person, the dysfunctional person, the person that has all these other issues going on because
Yeah.
it's easier there emotionally.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's what you have to be more aware of is what you are looking to entertain. All right. But the attraction piece, but I do think there's a level of yes, you will it's easier to attract what you desire if you put yourself in proper position.
Yeah.
All right. And
Absolutely.
and it is likely that if all you're meeting is a certain type of individual, then there is something within you that is attracting that type of individual. All right. So it's like, okay, if you're a woman and all you meet are passive, good for nothing, don't have anything going on men, then yes, there may be something. There is very likely something within you, which I would say you're probably exuding a lot of masculine energy. And those men who don't have their stuff together view you as an opportunity to have stability in their life.
Yeah.
View you as someone that can pour resources into them. Like, think
Yeah.
about it. If a man doesn't have his stuff together, The
Mm-hmm.
last thing he wants to go after is a woman who is more in her feminine, because the feminine energy is an energy that is receiving. All
Yes.
right. It
Mm-hmm.
allows people to do for her, which is
Yeah.
why whenever you tell a lot of women to tap into their feminine, one of their first thoughts is, "Well, I don't want to come across needy, and that some man has to
Mm-hmm.
do for me." And it's like, no, no, no. It's not about being needy. Just because you are capable of doing it for yourself does not mean you should not let others do for you. All right.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
being in your feminine will allow you to receive. In
Mm-hmm.
your masculine, you are more about the giving and providing aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
the man who does not have his stuff together, that's what he wants. He
Yeah.
wants a woman that will give to him. Okay,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
the last thing he wants is a woman that's looking for him to pour into her. So
Yes.
that's an example of how what you're putting out there, where you are emotionally, can contribute to the type of men that you attract, or
Yeah.
women that you will attract in your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's great. Exactly how you said it. And it is very true. And I think a lot of women, especially over 40, have got to heal that masculine energy because like they feel they have to be in it because they're divorced, because they're the ones who take care of the kids, because they're the ones who have to make sure the household runs, because, they're on their own. And we have to be able as women to heal that so we can call in that divine masculine partner. And we have to be able to say, you know what, I will receive. I have had arguments with friends who won't even allow men to open the doors for them. And that's just such a simple, basic, you know, what do they say? Oh my God, what is the word? And like, it's just like the basic thing, like it's a gentleman to do that,
Yeah, yeah.
and they're like, I can open my own door. And
Chivalry
I'm like, whoa, girl. He's just being a gentleman. Let's not get offended.
is basic chivalry.
Yes, absolutely. And they don't know how to receive that because they haven't healed that part, of being in their feminine energy and being able to receive because they're in that masculine for so long. So
Yes.
let's shift a little bit. So now many people after 40 have had a long relationship history. They have divorce, they have betrayal, they have heartbreak, they have kids that they have to take care of. So, how do you rebuild your belief in love when your nervous system only remembers the worst parts of it? That's the first half of the question. So, let's start with that.
Okay. So what we have to understand is that emotion is energy.
Mm-hmm.
Trauma creates emotion that is energy. And if
Yes.
you do not release that energy, you don't detox yourself emotionally, it
Mm-hmm.
stays trapped in your body and it creates all kinds of havoc. It can
Yeah.
create havoc mentally, emotionally, as well as physically. A lot of people do not realize their aches and pains, their ailments are
Oof.
emotional stress. All right.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
even though they're working out and they're eating right or they're eating good things, they are not emotionally healthy and it is causing problems. So
Yeah.
we have to go through a process of healing that allows us to release all that energy. That's
Mm-hmm.
why it's I'm not gonna bring down the whole process right now, but
Yeah.
part of it is it's gonna include writing letters. All right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because again, it's an opportunity to emotionally detox, get everything out. And there's a very specific way I lay it out. The other book I have is Love After Heartbreak.
I was going to bring that book up right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it gives a step by step for that. And I think that's one of the biggest, most important things, because it's hard to let go of those negative memories and
Mm-hmm.
thoughts and the way that we project on the situations when we have not released how we have felt and how we've been impacted by everything, not just a previous romantic relationship, everything, childhood, friendships,
Yeah.
romance relationships, you name it, career, whatever it is, we've got to release that negative energy.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, if they can't forgive their past partners, um, I mean, I believe in this. I want to know if you believe in this, that they unconsciously, they block those blessings.
Yeah, listen,
Yeah.
forgiveness is for your freedom.
Yes. Oh,
And
yes.
when you don't forgive, you remain in bondage to the situation. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if you think, well, I don't even think about it anymore. It is still trapped within you,
Yeah.
and it is still bringing you down and causing a problem. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, and I would just encourage anyone who's a believer in God, or I decided I'm going to start saying knower of God rather than believer of God,
Okay.
because I saw a TikTok clip where a man was saying To believe is to still have doubt.
Oh,
So we don't
wow.
believe we know God.
We
All
know
right.
God.
So you are a
Yes, I like
knower of
that.
God.
Mm-hmm.
Then it is clear that if we want to receive forgiveness, we must forgive. All right.
Oh my gosh,
And
it's so important.
remember that forgiving isn't saying what they did is okay. It's just not holding on to it any longer. It's
Yeah,
letting it go and understanding that, listen, we all fall short. We all make mistakes. Whether we realize it or not, we have all hurt somebody in our lifetime. All
yeah.
right. So none of us are perfect. It doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
again, doesn't excuse bad behavior, but it is
Yeah.
not worth holding on to it any longer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. People don't understand they gotta let it go. It is such an important part of the process, and that will be allow your blessings that God is going to give you to come through to you.
Yes.
So I want to talk about men for a second, okay? As a man, what is your message to the emotionally unavailable man over 40 who still wants a partnership but has not done the healing or refuses to do so because he thinks it's too woo woo or it's not manly? What's your message as a man to them?
My message is one, you will experience a greater overall quality of life by
Mm-hmm.
going through the process of healing. You're
Yeah.
not doing this simply for a woman, you're not doing this simply for love relationships. You're doing it first for you. And whether
Yeah.
you realize it or not. So, I'm very much into health
Yeah.
and I'm constantly researching things. And you may know this, you may not. We're living at a time where testosterone levels are at the lowest they've ever been
Yeah.
for men. All right.
Yeah.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
affecting men in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But what doesn't get discussed enough is how cortisol
Mm-hmm.
is a huge deterrent or impacts testosterone very negatively. And
Wow.
so you could have a man that has a decent testosterone level, but if
Mm-hmm.
his cortisol levels are too high, he's still going to experience the symptoms of low testosterone. All right.
Yeah.
As
Mm-hmm.
well as it can contribute to low testosterone. So, again, I want men to understand if you don't go through the healing process, you are
Mm-hmm.
holding on to emotional stress. That stress, whether you realize it or not, is raising your cortisol and it is making it harder for you to have a higher quality of life. So it
Mm-hmm.
is for your good in so many different ways that you embrace this process. But also understand that it's going to be hard to to receive a good woman in a great relationship if you're
Mm-hmm.
not willing to do the healing. You
Yeah.
know, and it doesn't make you weak, it makes you strong.
Yeah.
And it
Oof.
gives you a level of awareness that will allow you to better navigate through relationships because there's a lot of guys who they loved the woman they were with, but because they were emotionally immature,
Mm-hmm.
they mishandled the situation.
Oh, yeah.
And now they think that love can't be trusted or a woman can't be trusted. It's like, no, don't get me wrong, nothing's perfect, but we have to equip ourselves with the tools to give ourselves the best chance of having success. And as long
Absolutely.
as we're willing to take on that challenge, then we will be rewarded for it. So I definitely want every man to go through that process.
Absolutely. And I think it's important. They do need, as a lot of men do miss out on some great women, and then together they miss out on a beautiful relationship and union that could have been.
Mhm.
And because I do hear a lot of men say, to me, that's not manly. I'm not into that. When I've even had friends that I've, and honestly, even past partners where I've been like, what, can you please, at least can you listen to this? And then I realize I'm not the fixer, and I'm trying to lead to them. But once that person says no, that's not a person who wants to better themselves. And both of you end up missing out could possibly the most beautiful relationship that could have been,
Yeah.
because I think we all have our healing. Yeah. So, I was going to ask you that if someone feels called to prepare themselves for the partner God has for them, like what's the very first step they should take? Maybe you can give me a little bit of that, but what I really want them to do is go get your book, which is Healing After Heartbreak, because that is, and The Man That God Has for You for Women, because I think those are two really important just books really to have and to read, but especially, Healing After Heartbreak. Where can they find that book? Because that it really is. And I've even read the reviews where some women have said, like, I thought I didn't need healing, and woof, did I need healing after reading this book.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
yeah.
They can get it on Amazon, on my site, stephanspeakshop.com.
Okay.
Um, there's you can get it on iTunes, iBooks, it's all over the place.
Okay, yep, definitely. And I mean, when can people that are listening find you?
They can find me all over social media at
Okay.
Stephan Speaks, or
Yeah.
again, they can go to my website, stephanspeakshop.com.
Okay, and for those of that don't know, you are going on tour soon. You're a part
So,
of a tour.
so actually,
What? Don't tell me because I got all excited, Stefan. I'm like, he's coming to
so
Miami.
yes, okay. So the Miami event, so it's someone else's tour that I'm a part
That
of.
you're a part of.
And
Okay.
I will be a part of several cities on that
Okay.
tour.
Okay.
So yes, Miami is on the list. We will be there.
Okay.
My own tour, because I usually do a tour myself with a Dr. Bobby Price,
Okay.
and we're putting that on hold till next year.
Okay. So we got to wait for 26 for Stefan Speaks' own tour.
Yes.
Some cities starting, I believe, is it August or end of July? You will
August.
be part of that tour.
Yes. The
Okay, and
Tonight's
we'll link.
Conversations tour.
What is it called? I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Tonight's Conversations.
Tonight's conversations, and we're going to link that in the show notes. And final question that I ask all my guests: what is reinvention to you in one word?
Alignment.
Wow. Yeah.
That's
Alignment.
it.
I
Because
love that.
I believe once we figure out who we are
Yeah.
and where God wants us to be, and we get into that proper alignment,
Hmm.
that is the beginning of our reinvention. That is the beginning of not just our new journey, but our true journey. Like
Hmm.
that's just been waiting for us to get on that path. We just had to take a few detours before we got there. But
Yes.
that to me is
Yes.
the true reinvention is alignment.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, I mean, Stefan, this conversation, it was medicine, it was heart, it was truth. I need to thank you. I am grateful. It's supposed to be a 30-minute conversation. We have gone over an hour, and I probably think you're going to be my only guest. I keep talking to you, but I appreciate you so much, and the listeners
Our
appreciate you
pleasure.
for the wisdom that you carry and just shared with us and what you were called to do. And I do want to say this quote because I think this is truly, I know you know it's your calling, but I want these listeners to know. So in doing my research, I'm going to read this off my phone, okay?
Okay.
So you didn't start off, this was not what you wanted to do. This is not what you graduated from. You truly were called from God. And when you were questioning yourself, someone told you, and I know you're going to know who this is, said to you, I know who it is because I heard it. God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the call.
Yeah.
And I love that. And probably the woman that said it to you, the person that said it to you, she was probably that angel sent from God to give you that message because you truly, truly are a blessing and a gift to so many women and men out there. So, for those of you listening, this is your sign not to just to wait, but to heal, not to pray, but to align.
Yeah.
So whether you're 42, 52, 62, your story is not over. This is just the beginning. Be sure to check out Stefan's latest book, The Man That God Has for You, and his prior book. He has several, but the prior book also, Healing After Heartbreak. His powerful content, follow him on YouTube, Instagram, and more. Again, like I said, I'll link everything in the show notes. And if this episode moved you, share it with a sister, a brother, or anyone who needs to be in love again. And until next time, stay brave, stay open, keep reinventing with a purpose. And I am Karen Larea, and this has been Reinvention Real Talk.